2 seasons a year doesn't cut it. It's just not going to cut it. That's not what our players deserve. It's not what they expect. It's not what our team wants to do. It's not what I want to do.
We're making a shift in how we're approaching Infinite going forward. And the gist of it is that we're kind of no longer referring to seasons. We're shifting away from seasons. So semantically, for what it's worth, our January 30th update will henceforth be known as CU29.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Halo Infinite Season 5 is coming to a close, and 343 has finally come out and addressed the future of Halo Infinite multiplayer, along with things that are going on in the studio in their latest post over on their YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and take a look here at some of the information. Now, of course, addressing the elephant in the room, 343 has essentially killed the seasonal model for Halo Infinite and are moving towards a smaller event system.
The gist of it is that we're kind of no longer referring to seasons. We're shifting away from seasons. So semantically, for what it's worth, our January 30th update will henceforth be known as CU29.
And personally, I think this is a terrible move. Halo Infinite is finally in a place that it should have been at launch, but it's finally in a great place with a lot of content and a lot of modes, and they've finally decided to get on and fix the desync issue, so that is no longer going to be a problem. And of course, when Halo Infinite is at its peak performance, they decide to walk away. I'll never understand this. I wasn't a big fan of Halo 5, but they basically did the same thing to Halo 5, and they did the same thing to Halo 4. 343 is launching these games very incomplete, finally making them what should have been a finished product, and then instead of iterating on that and building upon that, they decide to just move on to something else. With the event system that they've changed, previously only having 10 tiers and then moving into what is now called operations that offer free 20 tiers that you can work for, and of course purchase the pass to keep it around so that it doesn't disappear. This is how they're going to be adding content to the game moving forward. They've outlined the next three, which are the Spirit of Fire, the Yappening, and Cyber Showdown 3. And my personal opinion is that these are going to be the last three events that Halo Infinite has. They're going to be spread across 2024, and then in January of 2025, when we would be getting the next event, we're going to get that announcement that every studio seems to be making, where they say, we've decided to make the difficult decision to move on from active development on Halo Infinite and put all of our efforts towards our next project or the future of Halo. But let's go ahead and take a look at what they have dubbed CU29, Content Update 29. It arrives on January 30th, and with it comes a new arena map, Covenant objects and palettes for Forge, new Forge features, a new armor core and customization rewards, and again, mentioning the first three free operations, starting with the Halo Wars themed Spirit of Fire. I gotta be honest, this armor core looks really good, and I will be excited to jump in and unlock the customization for it. It will probably be one of the cores that has the least amount of customization designed specifically for it, just because of them winding down active development on Halo Infinite. They are also adding cross-core armor with the shoulder pads now. So this is going to make not only the visors, the helmet, they're going to be adding in now the shoulder pieces as well. The new cosmetics that are being added in, I have to say, do look really good. The original Halo CE inspired assault rifle skin that they've added in looks amazing. And honestly, I'd like to see them, even if they're not adding them in seasons anymore, with whatever the next content updates are. I would like to see them add more of the older weapon skins for the pistol, the shotgun, the sniper rifle. They also briefly touched on the community features in adding maps in that the forgers are making, And this is something that, of course, is going to help add more content to the game as well. They have mentioned making something similar to Halo MCC's Match Composer so that people are able to find matches and playlists that aren't necessarily in matchmaking themselves. And they called out the team snipers specifically. So they're adding in things to kind of set the game up to be pushed off into the sunset. And again, I personally think this is the wrong move. I think that if they kept adding more things into Halo Infinite, that eventually they could raise their player base. I understand wanting to move on from an old engine, the Slipspace engine, even though they quoted it as being a new engine for Halo, is still just a modified version of the original engine. And with rumors of them moving to the Unreal Engine, they are going to be able to develop things much faster, and it's easier to work with and more well known across the games industry. So they should be able to hire people in that could come in, work on the game. And if they do the same thing they did with Halo Infinite with the contractors, they can at least have multiple contractors come in that know the Unreal Engine and aren't forced to learn it for 6 months out of their 1.5-year contract that they have signed with the studio. There are still, though, a few things that need fixed with Halo Infinite, and off the top of my head, the main one for me is the custom games and the bots, the AI bots that you can add in. Last time I tried to play just a local bot multiplayer game on my own console, the system was just broken. You would go in and let's say if you wanted to play a 8v8 on a smaller map, you would put yourself in as one person on your team. So you would want to have 7 friendly bots versus 8 enemy bots. And for some reason, the majority of all the bots are just assigned to your team. So instead of having an 8v8, you would have like a 14 on 4 or a 15 on 3 or even a 17 versus 1. I don't understand what's going on here, but it is definitely something that is broken and needs fixed. Also, too, the customization for the game, weapons that you've unlocked, skins that you've unlocked, stuff that you've paid for. If you're not connected to Xbox Live, it doesn't work. It doesn't show up. You show up as the default Spartan with the default weapon skins. This is something that needs addressed because if Microsoft has shown anything, it's that eventually they will shut servers off. And after they do that, it might be 5 years from now. It might be 10 years from now. Eventually, though, Halo Infinite is not going to exist online as an online game. And when that happens, money that people spent on this stuff has essentially just been wasted. And in closing, I would just like to offer a word of caution or a warning. There are rumors from somebody who has gotten things right before in the past that there is a possible multiplayer only title coming from 343 in September of 2025. Just because they've been correct about things before does not mean that they are correct about this. Things could have possibly have changed, or they could just be made up rumors. There are other content creators that are reporting on this as if it is basically going to happen or that it is a fact, and just temper your expectations. With the history of 343, I honestly wouldn't expect to see a new Halo title at the earliest, maybe 2026 or 2027. I do understand that this isn't the same 343 that launched Halo Infinite 5 or 4. So I guess it is possible that they have had things in development now for over a year since the old management is gone. But nonetheless, temper your expectations and just be very careful in what you believe with things being reported.